Good afternoon. I think we can do better than that. We built this building. Come on, we can be louder. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us here at 1005 Broadway this beautiful afternoon. I want to start by recognizing the elected officials that have joined us today. State Representative Garcia. City Councilor Garcia. City Councilor De Jesus. And we also have a representative from Senator Markey's office, Isabella Labora Velasquez. My name is Rafael Maris, and I'm the Executive Director at the Neighborhood Developers. The most recent prior use of this property here at 1005 Broadway, many of the Chelsea and Revere folks are going to remember it, was a Midas muffler. But can any of you remember some of their slogans that they've used over the years? Shout them out. Shout them out. The Midas touch, all right. What else have we got?
Nobody needs Midas. Nobody.
That's the one that I remember the most. This Midas location closed in 2008, and since then it was just a brownfield. No, not the most welcoming site in both sort of meanings and spellings of the word for people coming in from Revere into Chelsea. And but thanks to the combined efforts of everybody assembled here today, this is not a brownfield anymore. It is a beautiful building. It is home to 38 families, and it is the first building in Chelsea built to Passive House standard. We now have better access to Mill Creek and a more greeting, welcoming art when you come into Chelsea from Revere. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. I hate to even ask, but did we all beat Midas? Thank you for laughing at my joke. I was a little nervous about it. The previous owner, Arthur Epstein, purchased the site. We purchased the site from him, and it was already brownfield when he purchased it, obviously, and it was a tannery beforehand, and he put in a lot of money and effort into trying to reduce the pollution on the site, and so did we. And so I think it's probably not quite fair to say that we beat Midas, but maybe we collaborated with Midas. And I just learned this week that unfortunately Arthur recently passed away. It's just a little bit over 2 weeks ago. And so he could not be here today. May his memory be a blessing to his family and his friends. But what did I mean when I said before that we beat Midas? I already debunked the beat part, but what does we mean in this context? And I've said it before, and I will say it again, it takes a village to build affordable housing like this. T&D partnered with local, state, federal, community, and private partners in order to make this happen. It took the investment of money, time, and energy by all of you to make all of this happen. So as you can imagine, we have a lot of thank yous today, and I'm going to get started. I want to start by thanking Green Roofs. La Colaborativa. The Mystic River Watershed Association. And Broca. Thank you for your support and advice, and it's no exaggeration that we all wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for you all. So thank you. I'd also like to thank the City of Chelsea I said before that it takes a village to build affordable housing like this. It also takes the city. And the city of Chelsea has given its steadfast support for affordable housing and for this project through all its phases. And we really appreciate the help that we have received at all stages and to get it done right. So thank you. I'd like to thank the Life Initiative for providing acquisition and pre-construction financing. Without you, we couldn't have purchased the site, and we couldn't have paid for all the pre-construction costs, like permitting and design. So thank you very much. And the North Suburban Consortium, a critical partner, and to be honest, not just in this project, but in every one of our projects. You're always the first funder, and you allow us to demonstrate local commitment. So thank you. Dave will thank additional partners. We split it up so you don't have to hear us thank the same people twice. But with one more exception, I would like to recognize the remarkable work of T&D's real estate development, property management, that's Wynn Residential, and resident services team. I'm going to start with the real estate development team. No, go ahead, Sarah. I want to start with the real estate development team, and it occurred to me that in order to work on this project as part of our real estate development team, your first name had to start with the letter A or S. So I apologize to the folks that wanted to work on this, but if your name doesn't start with A or S, you didn't get a chance. It started out with Aaron, who passed it on to Steve, who passed it on to Adrian, who passed it on to Ann Conway, and to help us get it done, we got Sean involved. I'd like to thank you for the countless hours of work you put into this, for your vision, and for recognizing that the community, the neighbors, should be involved in the design of a building like this. So thank you. There's so many things to thank the Wynn team for, but I'd like to thank you for getting the tenants in here so quickly after we got a certificate of occupancy. You must have set some kind of record, so I really appreciate it. And last but not least, our resident services team, particularly Marilyn and Andrew, for welcoming and really making our new residents feel at home here, and I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So I am going to hand it over to Dave now, who's finishing up his remarks right there. Oh, yeah. You ready? Thank you. That's it. One moment. I realized I didn't thank Dave. That's actually the first person and organization I wanted to thank. So I'm going to do it now with you standing here, which is actually better. So I wanted to say that you changed your name, which makes this harder. Causeway Development and Treworth Companies were our partner in this project. And Dave, we're debating what the exact date was, in 2017?
2014.
You acquired it, but he came to T&D around 2017, but maybe had conversations before, so we don't know exactly when. You approached T&D and said you want to do this with us. And that was amazing, because we said yes, and this has been an amazing, amazing partnership. And you've worked really closely and collaborated with us through the peaks of this project, but maybe more importantly through the valleys. And so I really, really appreciate what you've done, Dave, and your team on this project, and I hope we get to do it again. So thank you.
So thank you. It's Dave Treworth and Dan Hubbard with Causeway Development. We did recently change our name, so you don't have to spell my last name so often. You're welcome. And I want to thank Raphael and the whole T&D team for a warm welcome and building such a capable, trusted, and fun organization. through, just thick and thin. Dan and I started our real estate development careers in Chelsea, in the Box District, more than 15 years ago, it's hard to believe. And it's a source of immense pride that you continue to invite us back. And thank you again to the city, and especially the staff and the elected leaders who want to get things done and who sincerely care. We're moving down Broadway after this for the next one, 28 new affordable home ownership opportunities with ground floor retail right in Bellingham Square, and we couldn't be more excited to have the support of all of you here and there. And I have to be honest with you, given the past few years, I really needed this. A gathering, just a gathering, a celebration, a reminder of what good can happen when we all persevere through what seems like a lot of obstacles these days. And so it's just so good to be here. And I was talking to a mom at a school welcome event in my town for parents the other night, and their family was relocating to town and looking for permanent housing. And she made the mistake of thinking that me as a developer could be helpful. And the stress on her face was just palpable. What are we going to do? How are we going to get to where we need to go? And I know that many of the families that live here now were feeling that same stress and wondering if we would ever finish. And hopefully now they can focus on some new opportunities in front of them and relax a little bit in their new homes. We would not have dreamed of or started or finished these homes without all of the people that Raphael mentioned. And I want to thank a few more. And we can hold our applause till the end and give them a big round of applause. But to the National Equity Fund and Webster Bank as the investor and banking partner on our project, Tony's out there and others. Our first project with them was in Hyde Park, and again here, thanks for supporting fairly young developers as we embarked on our own several years ago, and for supporting this critical mission. To CDAC and Mass Housing, with the resources and connections and expertise to support these projects from their earliest concepts. It's so critical that pre-development and acquisition funding, which we could not pull these projects off without. To Nutter, McClellan, and Fish, and Epsilon, thank you for your creativity and wealth of knowledge. This was a Chapter 91 site, and if you all have ever permitted through Chapter 91, you want these guys on your team, because I think after this project they became permitting legends throughout the state, figuring out how to make this work. To Klein Hornig and Joe, who alongside with Dan actually understands how to make this funding work in the real world. Thank you for all you guys do. To Teal and Offshoots, our architect and landscape architect and their supporting cast of engineers. This is an incredibly technically complex building. It's crazy. And it feels warm and inviting and like home. And they figure out how to pull that off. I'm not quite sure how. To Eric Gustafson, our owner's rep, and to Haycon, I want to take a moment to recognize our builder. Thank you. To Patrick, to David, to Joe, to Neil. These guys can't get enough credit, in my book, for persevering and managing subcontractors, suppliers, and the utilities. Through the most rapid inflationary cycle I think any of us has ever seen, for the most significant labor crunch in generations. I grew up in the construction business, and I can't remember a time when we've had so many different challenges in the construction industry converge. And they figured out how to pull this off and get us to this day. And thank you to the executive, DHCD, with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, I like the name, it's going to take a little while, and Secretary Augustus, and your amazing staff, Kate Racer, Rebecca, and others. I was relieved and excited when you were named Secretary. because I know you have the experience to pull us all together, developers, elected leaders, designers, and others, to figure out how to solve this housing crunch so that more families can have opportunities in the Commonwealth. And finally, I want to introduce the next speaker, Alex Train. I finally today learned his title. The Director of Housing and Community Development in the City of Chelsea. Alex has just been a critical partner and an advocate for building more affordable homes in this great city. And so for all these people, can we give them a big round of applause?
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Chelsea City Council and our acting city manager, Ned Keefe, I want to thank everybody for being here today, as well as for the phenomenal partnership of the neighborhood developers, Cosline Development, as well as Green Roots for this enormous undertaking. As Raphael and Dave mentioned, this project in particular was an extremely complex undertaking. It represents a major opportunity to produce new affordable housing amidst a displacement crisis. Moreover, it signifies an opportunity to unlock waterfront access to Mill Creek for a community that's been historically deprived of public open space along the water. And lastly, it represents a historic opportunity to really integrate public art, civic engagement, as well as affordable housing into the fabric of the neighborhood that we're in right now. So the city is absolutely elated to see this project come to fruition. As Raphael mentioned, these undertakings don't happen just because of one or two leaders at organizations. They require an immense amount of effort from staff, often working behind the scenes, as well as partnerships that are often layered and complex. Partners that can marshal resources, undertake challenges, and troubleshoot issues, including many of the obstacles we faced on this particular project. None of this is really possible without tenacious, committed state leadership. And so I'm happy to introduce our next speaker. Not only is he former leader of a multicultural city, as well as a state senator, but he's our new Secretary of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, Ed Augustus. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction. I want to congratulate the village that pulled this off. It is a very impressive accomplishment. This team that you've assembled really represents, I think, the best and the brightest to create the opportunities that we had a chance to go up and visit. And at the end of the day, for all the complexities that this project represented, the real payoff is the woman's apartment who I had a chance to visit with, and talk a little bit to her family about what it means to her to have that kind of clean, dignified, pleasant, attractive home, but to call her own, and what that has done for her health, her emotional health, her physical health, and her dignity. That's what everybody deserves. They deserve a clean, healthy, and dignified place to call home. So this is literally my first public event as Secretary of the Executive Office. Hopefully it's not all downhill from here. But I do, on behalf of Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll and the whole team at the former DHCD, want to bring our congratulations. We were happy to be partners in this endeavor. You have a lot of talented folks who are part of this team, but especially want to congratulate neighborhood developers and Causeway Development and all of their teams and partners on accomplishing this great task. When you take a former brownfield, this really is an environmental justice project as well as an affordable housing project. And so many things get accomplished when you can take and put the team together and bring this to fruition. And we are going to be looking forward to working with you all to figure out how to do more and to do it faster, because people can't wait. And just to put an exclamation point my understanding these 38 units had nearly 2,000 people who asked to be amongst the folks who can live in this beautiful place. So that's just a little indication of the kind of demand and the kind of need that's out there. And so we are at the new Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities bringing a sense of urgency to this work because those 2,000 plus people are waiting. So looking forward to working with you all. Congratulations, everyone.
Just making sure. So Sarah, you're next.
I didn't want to talk to my
Please, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Secretary. So first, congratulations to TND and Causeway Development. This is beautiful. And I'm here because I'm a lender that works really closely with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities to underwrite CBH. For those of you who don't know, community-based housing units are accessible units for persons with disabilities who are institutionalized or at risk of institution at a nursing facility, hospital, long-term rehab center, and CDOC works closely with our partners to underwrite these units and help pay for the actual construction. So these units are an important tool of our development partners to increase the supply of supportive housing in the Commonwealth. And for anyone who's new to supportive housing, it's kind of CDOC's jam. We love it. So the tenants in CBH units live independently in the project, and they use community-based supports like case management, day programs, personal care assistance, etc. So this is not the first project that we have done with TND or Tergorit, and we started working on CBH units in 2008, just a few years into the program with TND, and all told, these two developers have done 35 CBH units, which I think is a record. So I do look forward to the next project as well, and I think I know what they are, and I'm excited. So with that, I am introducing Elijah Coleman of Webster Bank.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to be part of this project. TND Causeway, I am blown away by the finishes. The finishes here are nicer than my home or anywhere else I live. I wish I could run a studio somewhere. At least 2 nights a week. But other than that, this project is phenomenal. Webster's mission is to be places where we can lend, where people want to live, work, and play. This is a great initiative. When it first hit the door, when Tony brought it in, everyone at the bank signed off immediately. And we are very pleased with the project. Hopefully there's more. I am very, very excited to walk tour the property. I remember being here about 2 years ago. It was just a dirt lot. Nothing but the dirt lot. You saw the creek directly. Then, started going up. Started in the middle of COVID. It was such a challenge. I've never, like you said earlier, I've never seen a project with so many different hurdles to overcome. But this project had Mike's touch, so it had So it is an absolute honor again, and I'll leave it here. And I'd like to introduce Kristen Harrell from the Life Initiative, President.
My name is Kristen Harrell. I'm with the Life Initiative. We're a private investment fund capitalized by life insurance companies. We work in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and with $100 million from life insurance companies, we've done now $700 million of investing in projects like this. But I want to say not exactly projects like this, because when I was speaking with Raphael earlier, I was saying, I think that you do the hardest projects possibly in the entire city, except maybe with the exception of my home community of Lawrence, which also the projects are really complicated. So there's contamination, there's rivers, there's very, very little available properties, and if it's not complicated enough, you bring in great developed partnerships, you bring in home ownership units, you bring in CBH units. There's no challenge that this organization isn't willing to confront to get the right project. And I'm so proud to stand here with you and to have been a part of it. So our part was $1.5 million-ish for the acquisition and pre-development, which we did do in concert with the great CDAC pre-development lenders. And we've done, this is our 18th investment in neighborhood developers. We go all the way back to Chelsea Housing, Neighborhood Housing Services. We've been through every name change and personnel change, and it's always, you know, so great. Like the folks who work here now are wonderful, as has been everybody along the way. So we're happy to jump into these really difficult projects with you because we know it's going to work out. But also the Secretary, because the Commonwealth has always been so committed to this, and we're so thrilled, as I said to you earlier, that you exist and that the role exists, because it's so clear that we're just going to continue to do more. But it's easier as a private investor, like your friend from Webster Bank said, to take those early risks on a contaminated site that's not developable because it's in the river in the community. That it's going to take a lot of permitting, because we know that this Commonwealth is going to stand behind projects like this. So thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me, and we can't wait for that team. I'm very honored to introduce Chelsea City Councilor tonight, Garcia Vega. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kristen. What an excellent day to officially open these homes and welcome the residents to the neighborhood. Chelsea is a great place to live. We have amazing food, that is true, amazing food, beautiful buildings, and generous people. I grew up in Chelsea, and now I have the extreme honor of representing my hometown as Chelsea City Councilor. Chelsea is, in my opinion, Massachusetts' best hidden gem. But apparently the secret's out. Chelsea has recently skyrocketed in popularity, with developers from all over clamoring to get a piece of our city. Don't get me wrong, Chelsea deserves investment. It always deserves investment. We've known that since long before outside developers did. And I'm glad that people are finally seeing the city for the beauty it holds. But we all know that the impact that gentrification and rising housing prices have had on our community. That's why organizations like the Neighborhood Developers and places like 1005 Broadway are so important. It was made with Chelsea's residents in mind. We welcome newcomers, but we definitely don't want to stand by as our longtime neighbors are priced out of their homes and forced to leave the place where they raised their children. So for the past 45 years, T&D got creative. Because as everyone in Chelsea knows, community is the heart and soul of this city. It is the vibrant pulse in the streets, the thing that keeps all of us here, the thing that makes Chelsea, Chelsea. Community is everything, and I'm excited to see the community that new residents in 1005 Broadway forge. So this is why it is an honor for me to introduce 1005 Broadway resident Luz Orellana.
Buenas tardes a todos. Es un placer y un gusto compartir esta apertura con ustedes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be sharing this ribbon cutting with all of you.
Mi familia y yo nos sentimos muy agradecidos por la oportunidad que nos han dado de ser parte de esta vivienda.
Myself and my family are so grateful to have the opportunity to be part of this housing.
Estamos muy felices de llamar a este edificio nuestro nuevo hogar.
And we're so happy to be able to call this building our new home.
Mi esposo aplicó el año pasado para esta lotería, a este proyecto.
My husband applied for the lottery for this project last year.
Y para nosotros fue una bendición y una sorpresa recibir una llamada diciendo que habíamos sido seleccionados para vivir acá.
And for us, it was a surprise and a blessing to receive the phone call telling us that we were accepted to live in this building.
No lo podíamos creer, estábamos pasando por un momento muy difícil.
We couldn't believe it, and at that time we were going through a very, very tough time.
Para resumir un poco esa dificultad, hace 5 meses donde vivíamos sufrimos inundaciones de aguas negras.
And to give you a little idea of what we were going through, 5 months ago, in a previous place we were living, we had sewage backups.
El dueño de la vivienda no nos quiso ayudar.
The people who own the property did not want to help us.
Nosotros cumplimos con la renta mes a mes.
Even though we were paying the rent every month.
Las personas que llegaban a ver la situación en la que vivíamos no lo podían creer.
And people who saw the situation that we were living in couldn't believe it.
Entonces mi esposo empezó a buscar ayuda
My husband started to look for help.
al City Hall,
He went to City Hall.
a la colaborativa, que aprovecho este momento para agradecerles por la gran ayuda que nos brindaron y el apoyo.
He also went to Broadway, but I want to take this opportunity to thank them for all the help and support that they gave to our family.
Muchas gracias a la colaborativa.
Thank you so much to the collaborative.
Y también a personas como Tanairi y Judy García, que han estado apoyándonos en este proceso tan difícil.
And I also want to thank some individuals like Tanairi and Judith Garcia, who gave us so much support when we were going through these tough times.
Pero el punto de esto es darles las gracias a TND
But the point of this is I wanted to give a big thanks to TND
por estos bonitos proyectos
for these beautiful developments,
donde ayudan al pueblo a tener un hogar digno y saludable.
and where they're helping people to have access to homes with dignity and health.
Estamos a favor de estos proyectos para que las familias puedan tener ese hogar que muchos pensamos que no lo podemos tener.
And we support these projects so that other families will also have the opportunity to have homes like this that we all want, but many think we will never be able to have.
Infinitamente gracias a todos los que nos han apoyado, y así como yo creo que estoy agradecida, también los vecinos están agradecidos con la oportunidad que nos dan de vivir en este lugar. Muchas gracias.
And I know speaking on behalf of all the neighbors here as well, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lily. And now, our next speaker is Roseanne Bongiovanni, the Executive Director of Green Roots.
I'd like to congratulate T&D, but honestly, I want to congratulate the community of Chelsea. This building stands as a physical reminder that sí se puede. We can do it. For those of us who've lived in Chelsea our entire lives, Tani and Lely, we've trespassed on private property to get onto our waterfront. Chelsea is surrounded by water on 3 sides, and until recently, we had virtually no access to that waterfront. And our vision, our goals, not Frank, our vision and our goals have always been to break down those barriers, to get to our waterfront, and to make sure that every single day that each of us works so passionately to access this waterfront, that the residents of Chelsea are here to realize these dreams and these goals. And this building here today just makes me so incredibly happy to see that as we work to clean up the waterfront, to make access to this space, that there are Chelsea residents who are here to benefit from this. I want to thank you for taking a leap on the Mill Creek. It warms my heart like you have no idea. 20 or so years ago, Matt and all of us, we were so much younger then.
Some of us are still young.
That's right, myself included. We created a community vision. We knocked on all of the doors in these neighborhoods to ask folks, when this whole area becomes redeveloped, what do you want to see here? And they said, we want to see walkways. We want to see parks. We want to go to restaurants. We want to be able to live on the waterfront. Here we are in 2023. We have those walkways. We have those interpretive bilingual signage. We have those parks. We have those restaurants. And now we have housing on the Mill Creek. I want to thank Doña Olga and Doña Maria for opening your doors to us today. Your apartment is amazing, but your warmth and your hospitality are even better. Thank you so much. We toured the facility, and Carolina, who's our amazing interpreter, let me borrow her daughter, we walked around. And Victorina and I were up in the apartment, and to see her look out of the window, and she was like, I was counting the ducks. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what we want. We want people to be able to look out of their window and see the waterfront that when we were growing up as kids, we didn't have access to. So thank you for creating this opportunity. This is just the first step in a much larger community goal. So until the next time, thank you, and I'd like to introduce artist Anna Duggan.
Oh God, I'm sweating. Yeah, don't mind if the sweat turns to tears. As most artists are, I'm very, very emotional and bothersome. Proud of you. It almost feels ridiculous to be standing up here speaking to you after all these amazing people spoke, to create this space. Here it goes. To create this space in this building when I feel like I just put a bow on it. But it's about me, so it's okay. First and foremost, I do want to thank the Chelsea Cultural Council for helping fund the mural that I got to paint, and Kyle for doing so much community outreach and engagement. She engaged with about 90 different residents from ages 6 to 102, so pretty wide range, if you say. Pretty wide. But when I was trying to create this mural and thinking about the ask of a Welcome to Chelsea mural, before looking at the research and the feedback that Kyle got, I kind of had my own idea in mind of what Chelsea means to me and what the vibe I get from Chelsea. And I was so excited when I read the feedback that it's so beautifully aligned. Because this is, no offense to the Tobin Bridge. I don't think of the landmarks when I think of Chelsea. I think of the people. I think of all of you. Sorry. It's the nerves. And what I think of when I think of the people of Chelsea, the first image that came to mind was a big block party. People dancing, people excited and joyful, because when I think of Chelsea, I think of community. I've always been welcome here. I swear to stop. I wanted to capture the soul and the spirit of Chelsea. So when people enter the city, they know who they're going to see. They know they're going to be welcome. They're going to be pulled up to dance, And the experience of painting, gosh, between Patty, she's here somewhere, Valeria, but sorry, my brain is like a goldfish right now, I'm like, Olga, thank you for the empanada. It was amazing. Every single day, I had the honor of interacting with the people who live here, the people who walk by, the people who were working here. And every day it validated that this was the right imagery. I had people come up to me who had no idea the subject matter, had no idea of what I was trying to paint. And they said, oh my God, that looks like my grandmother and my grandfather dancing. Oh my gosh, I put my hair in rollers like that. Oh my God, that reminds me of my tío, my abuelitas, and I was like, you get it, And even yesterday, I spent all day yesterday painting the pole that's out there, and that is like the boombox person, the person who brings the music to the party. We all have that person in our life. It's my mom for me, but her soundtrack is like, I don't know why. That's her theme song. But I'm so honored to
to have been part of this project and to create work that reflects the people who are here. It doesn't mean that, because I've always felt welcome here. And part of what I wanted to do was to create something that was welcoming, but that also reflected the people who were welcoming me. Because I know that there's much more than just a Latinx population here, but you can't come to Chelsea, you can't interact with Chelsea, you can't live in Chelsea without being touched by Latinidad. And that is beautiful. And I wanted that energy and that community and that diversity and that pride to come through. And I think I'll leave you with this, that overall, what I wanted people to take away from this mural is that I think after the last few years, we've needed a little happiness. And communities like Chelsea are the epitome of what resiliency can look like. Because to me, resiliency is not something that image-wise is always crawling out of the mud and, you know, it's, oh my God, the struggle. And yes, it is, but sometimes resiliency is radical joy. And that's what I feel in Chelsea. So
that was the end of our speaking program, and now we're actually going to cut the ribbon.